Welcome to Reggie Sports Talk. This past week, we had another great 2 days of NFL football. From two up-and-coming quarterbacks to two old men, we saw a great battle in every game. Today, my guests and I are going to talk about these games from the past week and preview Championship Sunday for you. That's coming up in a couple of days. My guest has been on the show before. He's one of the smartest guys I know. I give you Josh Peace. How you doing, Josh?
I'm great, RJ. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to get into this and talk about some football.
Oh, yeah.
So in the first game this week, we saw the Green Bay Packers take on the Los Angeles Rams. Josh, what did you think of this game?
So when the Packers faced the Rams, the whole time I expected Rodgers to dominate. And even though we didn't see, 400 yards passing and 5 touchdowns, I still think the Packers pretty much dominated. I mean, from the get-go, as I watched the game, I had no doubt in the Packers. Maybe a little bit of a slow start or slower than I expected, but no surprise in my mind that the Packers won. I think they're definitely the top dogs in the NFC right now. And honestly, I expect Aaron Rodgers to go to another championship game or a Super Bowl. I think that he's the best quarterback in the NFC right now, and I think that he proved that in his divisional round game.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good game, and I expected the Packers to win, unfortunately. As a Bears fan, I don't like saying the sentence that I expect the Packers to win and that they're moving on to the NFC championship game, but unfortunately they are. Rodgers outplayed Jared Goff again. Jared Goff did play a great game with his thumb, but it wasn't good enough to help his team win. Both teams had a great running attack. However, the Rams just could not finish drives. We saw multiple times then have to punt in situations that you really wish they didn't have to. Packers defense played a great game, and the Rams defense just seemed a little bit off to me. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I mean, they were off a little bit, but honestly, I think both teams played decently well on defense because we didn't see the Packers put up the points that I thought that they would. But it was still a good game overall. I mean, it was a good game. It was kind of close. I thought the Packers could have won by 3 touchdowns, but obviously they didn't because the clock was running out. But no doubt in my mind that the Packers should have won that game.
Yeah. Like we said, unfortunately the Packers won that game. The next game I want to look at really quick is the Baltimore Ravens, and they took on the Buffalo Bills. A little bit different game than we expected, at least than I expected. Josh, what about you? What do you think? Anything that you thought should have been different in that one?
So, RJ, I don't know if you know this about me, but the Bills are actually my second favorite team, and it's not even close. I love Josh Allen ever since he was coming into the league. I thought that he was awesome. So I paid a lot of attention to this game, and I think that the thing that surprised me most was that the Bills could only put up 10 points on that Ravens defense. Now, don't get me wrong, Baltimore and John Harbaugh has a great defense, but I expected Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs to put up a lot more points. So that definitely surprised me. Now, taking, that away, and I know that the wind in Buffalo was terrible, but I honestly think that Buffalo dominated this game, especially in the second half. Like, it was close at halftime. I think it might have been 3-3, but I think Buffalo definitely deserved to win. I think they look as good as ever. I have no doubt that Josh Allen is going to bring his all and perform well in the championship game. And no surprise, this is just about what I thought the difference would be in the game score wise.
Yeah. I also put the score very close. I like you said, the wind, I don't know what was up with it. The wind's bad when Justin Tucker misses 2 kicks in the same game. Because that's just something that doesn't happen. We saw Allen, Lamar, and this Tyler Huntley guy all overthrow open receivers that we know Lamar and Allen would normally hit. I don't know enough about Huntley to say he would hit that guy, but the fact that Allen and Lamar were overthrowing people definitely shows that something was up with the wind. And then Lamar got injured, and his backup came in, and his backup played pretty good for this probably being his first real snap in the NFL, but ultimately just couldn't finish the job. Before Lamar got injured, he went into playoff mode, throwing that 101-yard interception, pick 6. That was just really bad. And that was bad for him to stoop back down to that. The Bills definitely won the game that they should have won. And I just wish both teams would have scored more. As a fan, I would kind of like more high-scoring games than 7-10 type games.
Yeah, I mean, 17-3, like obviously nothing we expected, but I'm a little bit more surprised that Josh Allen didn't put up more points than I am that Lamar Jackson didn't, because as much as I think Lamar Jackson, he impresses, he's a good quarterback, but even starting in the playoffs last year, I think that NFL defenses are starting to figure him out a little bit, because he won the MVP last year, and don't get me wrong, that was a proper pick. But when you come into the playoffs and you don't perform anywhere near like a MVP quarterback should, I think that clearly he's got some work to do in his game. So, like you said, the 101-yard pick wasn't great. I think Lamar played okay while he was in, but you knew that when he was out for the rest of the game that the Bills were pretty much going to run away with that one.
Yeah, I agree with you. Something that I want to say is, I don't know if you know this, but I've been pretty high on the Bills through the whole playoff process. In the playoff predictions video, I predicted I'm going to win the Super Bowl. So everything you're saying, I agree with. I thought the Bills would run away with this game when Lamar got injured. I thought it was pretty much a give me that the Bills were going to win this game. As you'll see later on as we talk, I'm still high on the Bills. So yeah, that's really the Saturday games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the Sunday games?
Yeah, before I'll just say that I am also very high on the Bills now, even though they're my second favorite team in the NFL after the Bears. I also am very high on them, and ever since we went in, I've said I really think the Bills are going to get to the Super Bowl, and obviously as we move on, you're going to hear that, but the Bills are very, very good. Sean McDermott, their coach, is really good. We know they have a great defense, and if Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are, connecting as well as they can be, this team can beat anyone. And even though their connection was pretty good but not great against the Ravens, I think that puts them over the edge. I'm a big fan of the Bills right now.
Yeah. So in the first Sunday game, we saw a rematch of what everyone's talking about is the greatest college football game we've ever seen. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs took on Baker Mayfield and the Browns. I guess you can say both have a win over each other now, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, so I am not a fan of Baker Mayfield. Ever since he was at Oklahoma, I have not rooted for him. I think that he has accuracy issues. I think that sometimes his motivation is a little off. So for that reason, I'm not a big Baker Mayfield guy. That said, he had a really good regular season. I knew that he'd be a threat to the Chiefs. And even though Mahomes got hurt, I think we saw that. Baker Mayfield put up points. He was pretty good in some drives that mattered, but the score ended up being 22-17. It was a close game. The Chiefs held on. I'm just interested, to know what would have happened if Mahomes stayed healthy, because now he's on concussion watch. Every single time that happens, something seriously wrong. So we'll see. But even though he got hurt, doesn't surprise me at all that the Chiefs won. They were 14-2 for a reason. Should have been 15-1, obviously, if they didn't rest their starters for week 17. I like the Chiefs. I thought they were going to win. I thought it would have been a larger margin, but with Mahomes getting hurt, 22-17 sounds about right for me.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Hopefully Mahomes is okay. That's a scary injury you never want to see, especially when your neck buckles like that and he's stumbling off the field like that. That's not good. Um, as you said, the Browns played a good game. But I think something that Browns fans will continue to say is that penalty on that touchback that wasn't called is ended up what hurt them. I'm not saying they would have gotten a touchdown there and that the game would be different. I personally don't know, but I think if you're a Browns fan, you look back at that and say that could have been the reason that kept us out of the AFC Championship game. Um, because as we saw, Chad Henne was able to come in and stop the Browns from coming back and win that game. So could you imagine if Patrick Mahomes was able to stay in, how much different, like you said, the game would have been? So I don't think they would have been down by just a touchdown if Mahomes was in over Henning.
Yeah, and obviously, if like you said, if Mahomes was in, they probably would have been up by 2, maybe even 3 touchdowns. But we got to give credit to Chad Henne, right? Because he came in on that last drive. I think he ran for a first down. He might have thrown for a first down to ice the game. So credits to him. Obviously, if the Chiefs have Chad Henne going into the AFC Championship game, they're not going to feel very good. But he got the job done. And let's be honest, RJ, Baker Mayfield didn't. He didn't get the job done. So honestly, that shows me where they're at. I applaud the Browns. I think they had a great season considering they hadn't made the playoffs for so many years. They came in and they won a playoff game, so good for them. But it was definitely time for the Browns run to stop, and the Chiefs definitely deserve to win that game.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of people's time to stop, in the last game we saw two old men play QB. Tom Brady and his Buccaneers went to New Orleans and beat Drew Brees in what could have been Drew Brees' last game in the NFL. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know what? Drew Brees is one of my favorite players of all time. I'm not going to say he's my favorite in the league right now, but I've always been a Drew Brees fan. I read his book. I think he's a very good guy. But in my opinion, you know what, Drew Brees, I hate to use this term, but I think Drew Brees is washed. You know, ever since the season started, I saw that very first game when the Saints beat the Bucks on, I think it was Sunday Night Football, and I said, you know what, the Saints are good, but Drew Brees isn't anymore. And the result of yesterday, I think, proved that because I think he's 43 years old now. He absolutely outperformed Brees. The Bucks have more weapons, and even though Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara are all-pro NFL level players, the Bucks just had too much firepower, and Drew Brees didn't perform at the level he has before. Again, the game didn't surprise me. I did have the Saints winning personally, but the fact that the Bucks ended up winning by 10 points doesn't surprise me at all. And I think that Tampa's in a pretty good spot right now. I like them for the championship game.
Yeah, I agree that Drew Brees this year just didn't look good. This is the 19th, 20th year in the season. Came back from a really bad shoulder injury. Came back from a broken thumb last year. 11, 12 broken ribs and a punctured lung this year. Really good guy. I also read his book. Also a big Drew Brees supporter. Just great Christian, great guy all around. His career is going to end at some point. He's got that deal to call games for, I think, NBC or ESPN for a lot of money. So he can go do that, have more time with his family, which is good. Because I know he's trying to help coach his son's football games, which can't be easy when you're also trying to play quarterback for an NFL team. So hopefully he enjoys retirement. He has a lot of records right now that unfortunately will probably be beaten by Patrick Mahomes sooner or later. But yeah, Drew Brees did pretty well overall in his career, and overall for that game, like you said, he didn't have a great game. Horrible game for him to go out on, but unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. I think the Saints offense definitely missed Latavius Murray and Taysom Hill. Yes, Jameis Winston did throw a 56-yard touchdown for him. You could tell they were missing Taysom Hill to run some gadget plays that they would normally run in situations, and also they were missing Latavius Murray as their other back. The Buccaneers defense is very dangerous, and they showed up in that game, which is very good for them going into the NFC Championship game, which I will talk about in a little bit. But I also am very high in the Bucs going into the next game.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember seeing a stat on like NFL.com or something like that. Brady and Brees are 1-2 and like a ton of NFL passing records, which is kind of insane because you're seeing two of the best go at it. But unfortunately, they're nowhere near their prime anymore. They're way past it, and it just showed, Brady is clearly a level ahead of Brees, which is why he's always going to be considered greater than him on the all-times list. But like you said, Brees is a fantastic Christian man. He's an awesome leader. I know he raises his family really well, but Brady's the better quarterback, and he proved that in a game where his team ultimately won. The Bucs were better all around, and like I said, no surprises in that game at all.
Yeah. So moving on to a couple days from now, we'll start off the NFC Championship game. We'll see the Packers take on the Bucs. Josh, who wins this game? If you have a score prediction that you can think of, or anything like that you want to add to that game.
Yeah, I just told you I think the Bucs are in a very good position going into the NFC Championship. That being said, I think that the Packers have upped their game insanely in the last few weeks. I think they finished the regular season really well. Obviously, we saw them play the Bears, and they just dominated. Devontae Smith is a whole nother animal. He's caught how many touchdowns in weeks in a row? He's insane. Rodgers is on his game. I absolutely cannot see the Packers losing this game at home. I'll probably say, 38-23. I think the Packers are going to take it. I think that Rodgers is going to throw for 4 or 5 touchdowns. I think he's going to have another elite game. And I think Brady's going to play somewhat well, but they'll show that, he's probably not the best QB in the NFL anymore. He might get exposed a little bit. I definitely have the Packers moving on to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, have to disagree with you on this one. I think the Buccaneers will win this game. From the beginning, from my playoff bracket, I said it would be the Buccaneers versus the Bills in the Super Bowl. I had the route being a little bit different. I had all four of these teams playing for their championship games. So I knew the matchup would be Packers versus Buccaneers in this game. And I've been thinking that for a long time. And I had the Bucs winning it over a month ago. And I can't not go with that now. But part of the reason that I think this and part of the reason I thought that now is that there are two things that travel well, especially in the cold, and that's defense and run game. And what we've seen in the last week, that the Buccaneers defense had 4 turnovers against the Saints that they caused, and they're able to run for 127 yards. Also, I want to bring up that the last time this past season when the Buccaneers and Packers played, they had Rodgers throw 2 interceptions, and one of them was a pick six, which Rodgers barely throws 1 interception in a game. So to make him throw 2, you kind of have his number. And the Buccaneers also rushed for 158 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. I think they can do something very similar if they can mastermind a team kind of like that to be able to stop the Packers. I have the Buccaneers winning this game 35-28 on a last-minute drive.
Wow. I mean, I can't, positively say that I think you're wrong or anything like that. But on the other hand, man, I mean, at this point in the year, I can't see, you're right. The Bucs definitely did dominate the Packers the last time they played them. There's no denying that. But at this point in the year with Rodgers at home, I think that, the defense is going to step their game up. I definitely think Rodgers is going to be playing like it's everything. And also, no one's ever had home field advantage in the Super Bowl before. And if the Bucs win this thing, they're going to have home field advantage in Tampa for the Super Bowl. And something inside me just says that's not going to happen. So on top of, in my opinion, Rodgers being the most talented quarterback ever, and just the way the Packers are playing, I'm still going to stick with the Packers. But hey, it's going to be a great game in my opinion. I think the Packers might run away with it, but either way, I think it's going to be definitely a great game.
Yeah, another great game that we'll have that weekend is in the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs take on the Bills. We both kind of hinted at who we're going to take in this game. Josh, what do you think?
RJ, I really think it's going to happen. I think Mahomes is going to play, and I think the Bills are going to win. I'm 100% serious, by the way. I'm not a betting man, but if I had to put money on this game, I'd seriously go with the Bills because, first of all, it's very hard to go back-to-back in the NFL. I was looking it up with a couple of my buddies today. Only 7 teams have ever, or 7 different franchises have ever went back-to-back in the NFL. I think that Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, and the rest of the Bills are really, figuring out this league, and I think that they know how to win. Obviously, Mahomes is on concussion protocol, whether he plays or not. I think the Bills' defense is going to step up, and I really think the Bills are going to win this thing. I think it's going to be about maybe a little low scoring. I'm going to go Bills 24-20.
All right. I also think the Bills are going to win this game. Again, I put the Bills and Bucs in the Super Bowl, so I can't back down now. Also keep making a joke to my girlfriend and with my friend that if the Bills end up winning the Super Bowl, that me and my friend are going to become part of the Bills Mafia, and one of us is going through a table. So maybe watch out for that video. Who never knows? But I think the Bills will be able to outplay the Chiefs. And if Mahomes can't play, I think that just makes the Bills' job a little bit easier. Adrenaline, I think, really helped Chad Henne be able to come into that game and be able to play. I don't know if preparing for a whole week and going into this being the biggest game in your career, if he's going to be able to overcome it. Andy Reid's a great coach, don't get me wrong. The Chiefs have a pretty good defense, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if that they'll be able to do it and beat the Bills. Even if Mahomes plays, like you said, I think that the Bills will win this game. The Chiefs are allowing over 306 yards a game, and the Bills are averaging 406 yards of offense. So I think there's going to be a lot of yards in this game because the Bills' defense hasn't really been that good at stopping the yards. Even if Mahomes does play, I don't know if he'll be 100%, which I think could help the Bills, and the Bills might be able to take advantage of. I have the game being a little bit more high scoring, just because of how both defenses haven't been really able to stop a lot this year. I have the Bills winning this game 38-35.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a fair score prediction, especially with Mahomes at the helm. If he plays, I think it could be that high scoring. And then you got to think about it. I don't know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play, but Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill in the same offense is scary. So definitely could be that high.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be a great weekend for football. It's always one of my favorite weeks. Yeah. Thanks for joining us this week, Josh.
Yeah, of course, RJ. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. Thank you all for joining us on this week's Reggie Sports Talk. Who do you think will play each other in the Super Bowl? Let us know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please like it and share it. Don't forget to join us next week when we talk about the championship game. See you all soon.